I have followed her life on social media for the past several years, and I can't wait for you guys to meet her. Her name is Sally Phelps. You are my personal inspo hero.
In order to go on a trip, I pre-make all my food prior. I unfortunately am not a carry-on person. Regardless, I'm a 2-bag person, and the 1 bag will strictly be my safe snacks and food.
Just what is your approach with dating and food allergies?
I feel like the burden thing everyone deals with, specifically people who have food allergies. But I think at the end of the day, you have to remember everyone has something. I don't know. Sometimes I feel like it's like I'm a thing at the museum, and everyone's like fascinated by my food allergies.
Welcome back to EpiPod. Danielle's had anaphylactic food allergies her entire life.
And Sarah is a food allergy mom to 2 kiddos.
Managing this invisible health condition can feel so isolating.
Do you also feel like you have a degree in overthinking?
If you're nodding your head like me, then you're in good company.
Let's get you off that allergy island right now with people who get it.
Ready to dive in?
Hi, Sarah.
Hey, Danielle.
Today we have a friend of mine. We met in person first, which is usually the opposite in this digital age, but I have followed her life on social media for the past several years, and I can't wait for you guys to meet her. Her name is Sally Phelps, and I've talked to you about her for ages.
Yes, I mean, she's like a little icon to you in a way. It's like she's a normal person, but like not only does she have a really cool job that we're about to tell you about, but she also has a very unique allergy history, meaning like she didn't always have anaphylactic reactions and allergies, and now she has this long list, and yet she still manages a way through life that's not just like, I'm doing it, but like I'm doing it.
Totally.
You know?
I feel like if you're a food allergy adult listening, we have a lot of episodes that are kid focused and parent focused, but so this one's for you, but I really feel like this one is also for the food allergy parents listening to see who their child can be. Even if their child is one of the children who really struggle with their allergy or very afraid of it. We have people in our DMs and in our inbox being like, my child is so afraid to eat, or I can see them developing anxiety. This one is really to see a window into who your child can become with that and still have such a sparkling life and dream career.
Yeah.
So before
I was going to say, tell us a little bit more about Sally, and then she is knocking on our door. We need to get in that interview.
Sally Phelps is an associate director and influencer of celebrity marketing at Free People, a women's fashion brand based out of Philadelphia. She oversees the brand's creator strategy, including paid partnerships, brand trips, organic gifting, and affiliate relationships. That's how we met, is through a Free People situation. But like, if you're a woman, Free People is always like top of any.
Yes. Well, I'm a cheapo, so I don't buy their clothes because it's all too expensive for me. Maybe, I don't know. I can shop the sale rack, but I do love their stuff.
Yes. Well, I mean, you often wear it with your subscription. Like,
well, that's true.
I've totally
seen
the
runway. For anyone who's like, what is she talking about?
But what's unique is Sally was diagnosed with life-threatening food allergies during her teen years, and she's currently allergic to 7 of the top 9 allergens.
Jeez.
And also, she'll go into detail, but a lot of non-top allergens too.
Right, which is incredibly hard to manage. Okay, let's bring her in.
We'll get into the nitty-gritty. Hi, Sally. Thanks so much for joining us.
Hi, Danielle. Hi, Sarah. Thanks for having me. I'm so excited.
Okay. You are my personal inspo hero. Every time that I feel like I literally can't do this, this isn't fair, maybe I should say no to this opportunity, this is like too much, especially involving travel and anything with work. I literally go to Instagram, and 9 times out of 10, if I open your Instagram story or most recent post, it's you at some sort of fancy client dinner or like in some faraway island destination. And I'm like, all right, if she can, I can. So thank you so much for being on. I have full body chills.
Oh my God.
You're like my Pinterest IRL.
Oh, thank you. That makes me so happy. It's so funny because sometimes like I meet people and they don't know I have food allergies, and obviously it comes up in conversation and they're like, wait, you have food allergies? Like you would never know based off what you post on social media. I'm like, I actually have debilitating food allergies, but that's so kind of you.
So do you have, though, you have debilitating food allergies, but jumping right in, like, do you have debilitating anxiety around those food allergies?
100%. I think it's really hard to not have food allergies and not have anxiety. I've been an anxious person my whole entire life, as long as I can remember. And honestly, I feel a little bit about my journey. I was diagnosed with like late adult onset allergies. I did not have any serious allergies until I was a teenager, and I did not really have anaphylactic allergies until I was 22. So because of that, I feel like my anxiety has obviously moved from just like mental anxiety and like being nervous, to not perform well on like a test or public speak is now solely focused on food. So of course I have a lot of food anxiety, but I feel like I've done a lot of work specifically within the last year. I just became diagnosed last November after an anaphylactic reaction to a new onset wheat allergy, which is obviously at my ripe age of 27 is a little bit unheard of.
Yes.
So because of that, it's definitely been a lot navigating. But because of that, I try not to limit myself too much and just have a lot of boundaries in place as well.
So we've talked about this a little bit in your intro, but what are your 7 of the 9 anaphylactic allergies, and which ones are anaphylactic, which ones aren't? Just so people,
of course,
I feel like it's really easy listening to people and being like, oh, but their allergy like probably isn't bad as mine. Like it's probably a sensitivity, but yours is like you just said, anaphylactic.
Like I think also I'm a little bit of a unique situation because my first, specifically when we're talking about like the work environment, is like I had my first severe anaphylactic allergy at work during like a client meeting, which I think we can go into that, but I think that is a little bit unheard of too. Usually it happens when you're like a young person. So I was like 22 at the time, which I think is very unique. I am anaphylactic to all nuts, soy, sesame. We don't know if I'm anaphylactic to it technically, but I am allergic to wheat. So I live a completely gluten-free diet. And I'm also allergic, not anaphylactic, to shellfish and fish. I also have oral allergy syndrome. And then I'm also anaphylactic to a bunch of other random things: celery, carrots, flaxseed, pork randomly. And I'm from New Jersey. That's like a big part of our culture, like being Italian and being from New Jersey. And because of that, I've also developed ARFID, which is avoidant food restrictive intake disorder. I have the aversive effect, which isn't that I just don't like the food because it's a texture, or I avoid it. I'm very aversive with it, largely because I don't want to eat because I'm allergic to so many things, and it's really, really uncomfortable at the end of the day. But obviously I've learned how to manage it, specifically with work and in the work environment and with travel as well, which is obviously very, very difficult.
And before we jump into that, because I know we have like a bajillion questions about that, but just to go back and clarify something you said, because I think we talk all the time about how the world of allergy is so gray, and even allergists themselves have like different opinions on what definitions of words mean. So when you say anaphylactic, like from my understanding, what that means generally is that either your doctor has told you because your numbers are like off the charts or whatnot, or you've actually had an anaphylactic reaction to the food. And then when you say you're allergic but not anaphylactic, is that simply like you were tested and it came up allergic, but you haven't had anaphylaxis? Tested, came back positive with my skin prick test and my blood test, but my IgE levels are not high enough, or whatever the blood test result is that says that you could not be anaphylactic. It might tie a little bit to my oral allergy syndrome, which specifically is a lot with birch for me, which could be linked to sesame. But I've also never had a anaphylactic reaction to fish or shellfish when I have consumed that. After being diagnosed, it's usually just like the really, really itchiness. Because of that, I obviously do not consume it, knowing that one day it can lead to anaphylactic. But I've had 4 anaphylactic episodes in my lifetime, and all of them were from cross-contamination, mostly obviously because it was through takeout or food that I consumed that I did not cook on my own. We don't really know for sure what it was, but most likely it was because of nuts or soy, as those are my, really, really severe ones. My numbers are off the charts. My IgE numbers are off the charts. And even when I'm around them in an environment where I'm not eating them, I am getting like hives, the itchy eyes, other symptoms as well. Soy, man. I mean, that's in everything.
It's in everything.
I'm sure
I ended up
medications as well. Like,
things you don't even think about. I think also is I was diagnosed with a tree nut allergy when I was like 16 or 17, and I was like randomly vegetarian at the time. And I was like, okay, I'm going to switch to a lot of like soy products. I was eating tofu, and instead of drinking almond milk, I switched to soy milk, and it's funny, like the soy never bothered me, but the soy milk, it's just so different how everything is made. But I can tolerate soy lecithin, so I do have that in a few of my safe packaged foods. But I do avoid it at all costs. No soybean. I know some people are able to tolerate soybean oil. Unfortunately, if I have it, it's immediately high, it's itchy mouth, etc. for me.
Oh, I'm so sorry. That's so much to manage.
Do you see why she's my IRL Pinterest board?
Yes.
Like, you need to follow her online. And now knowing all of this, like, let's actually like bring it back for those of you all listening. I know I've told you a little bit, Sarah, offline, but Sally and I met because South by Southwest hits Austin every March. It was like right when we started reporting the podcast. I was like always running in from some crazy event. And I believe it was 2022. Free People and Daisy Jones and the Six were having it was when Amazon Prime was releasing and putting out all their PR for Daisy Jones and the Six. And Free People had this huge activation on South Congress. And it was like the content creators of Austin, it was the who's who of like if you got invited to the Free People
AKA
party.
you, that's why you were invited. Because of the connection. And I was fangirling over you. I wanted to meet you in real life.
Oh my
so
gosh.
bad.
I'm like, but I got one of the golden tickets. It was like Willy Wonka. And so when I walked into the gifting suite, I hadn't seen, the show wasn't out yet, so I didn't know who the cast was. I'm going through these beautiful, Free People had a collection with Daisy Jones and the Six. So it was like all 70s, these like beautiful leathers and beaded things. And I'm going through these beautiful pieces of clothes right next to the cast. And Sally comes over and taps me on the shoulder and she's like, hi. Like, so we like immediately connected with the food allergy thing. I didn't know that's how she originally found me on TikTok, but I didn't realize the extent of it. Yeah. And she was she was like controlling this circus with like, like all of these gifting people, these celebrities, like this huge musical, like whatever. She was running like a chicken with her head cut off in a very professional way. But I was like, this is the ringmaster right here. Like, wow. Her food allergies must not be that bad. And I just started OIT, and I remember we were going to get together for drinks, and I had to cancel last minute because a dose went wrong. And it was like week 2. And I remember already being like, maybe this isn't for me because this girl from New York, like I'm dying, like this is what I'm most excited for South by Southwest. Like I want to hang out with just Sally, and it held me back. And she was like, I totally understand. I had this like hive on my lip, scared out of my mind, like shaking in my office. And she was like, I totally get it. Like I have, and then she made her list and I was like, what? And so immediately I was like, how are you ringleader? And like, you don't even have time to stop and think and remember your own name, much less figure out how to safely feed yourself. And then following you for the years after, you've been in like island countries, like with the biggest celebrities out there, fashion week things, like multiple times a week at these client dinners with like name any big brand at any big New York fashion week and like any big firm, and you're at that dinner with the little like Sally nameplate and these prefixed meals. And I'm like, what? How? So yeah, I guess like first question, how do you have this level of job and this type of job where you're traveling and don't have the time or your own kitchen and also manage all of these allergies?
Yeah, well, thank you. Seriously, I think you were like the first allergy, I don't want to say influencer out there, but really like the first one I ever like saw on my own social media. And now obviously I think as you kind of start obviously interacting with that content, now my whole feed is allergy stuff. And I give you guys so much credit because I think a lot of times with food allergies, like the anxiety and specifically panic attacks feel so much like an allergic reaction, and doing what you guys do all the time and talking about this, like is so brave. And I think just like so good for our community, specifically like standing up for us and like getting awareness out. So thank you, seriously. And Danielle, your content has been like amazing, even in my own journey. Like I was like, what is OIT? I had no idea what it was. And it's something unfortunately that I've kind of surpassed and is not for me. I think we relate on a lot of the similarities with it, with like the anxiety. It's just not unfortunately for us, but you bringing awareness to that has been great. And then just for my background, I know you guys kind of gave me the intro, but like I do oversee all of the influencer and celebrity strategy for Free People, which is a great clothing brand, which is owned under like Urban Outfitters. They also have Anthropology and a few other brands. And with this job, which I did not realize when I first took this job, it would take a lot of travel. Travel has been something that I specifically have never like loved my whole entire life. My parents, you know, we do the family vacations and stuff like that. But I think as I got older with the food allergies, it became more of troublesome. So when I first started taking this job, and I think my first summer, I was like in LA, like back to back weeks almost. And then I was flown out to, I don't even remember, other like places all the time. It's been super, super fun. But specifically when it was like South by Southwest, Fashion Week. I've been to Cabo with work. I go to LA a lot frequently. I've been a ton of other places, Texas, even doing festivals, which has been a whole other thing. I get to go and interact with a lot of music artists at Coachella, for example, which I know, Danielle, you've been at a lot of music festivals before too, where you kind of feel straighted with your food allergies.
Oh my gosh. So you're like, I'm going to starve today.
Yeah. And I'm stuck somewhere with like 10, 12 plus hours. With you don't really know the food options, even though you can do all the research before. And are they going to let me bring my food in that I do bring, even though it is like a medical condition? I think the biggest thing is that like I do like advocate for myself because I've always been burned with my food allergy, specifically at with like takeout or food out, and it has nothing to do with the restaurants. A lot of it has to do with just mistakes are being made, and I do not blame the restaurants at all. But because of that, I actually choose to not eat out at any restaurants, which can get a little bit awkward when I am, one, traveling, but two, hosting influencers for dinner, for example, or I'm invited to a dinner or a client meeting, or I'm even with my own team, and I kind of have to explain to someone like, unfortunately, I actually have a lot of food allergies and I don't eat, and it can be a little bit awkward. So I could go into specifically what I do. But I think just being like the biggest advocate for yourself and having your own boundaries is like the biggest thing that I try to remember. I think also because my first really serious anaphylactic reaction happened when I was actually in a meeting with an influencer that I was entertaining and her agent. And my boss was right outside. We were in one of those like glass rooms. I used to work at a PR agency, and we ordered salads from like a local deli, and I just started eating it. And immediately I was like, I do not feel right. And I think I'm having my first anaphylactic reaction, and not that we can joke about it because it is so serious and I don't want to diminish an anaphylactic reaction, but this influencer I'm now friends with and her agent I do a lot of work with, who she is no longer with. So we can kind of joke about it, but the first time we met, I was having this very serious medical incident where, you know, double EpiPen, ambulance, EpiPen in the ambulance, stuff like that. So I don't know, it is like a lot, but I think I've just been able to be like a really good advocate for myself and let obviously a waiter know if I do choose to eat, but also my team know as well about my severe allergies and how to properly administer epinephrine, knowing that it is a need for me, and I might obviously be put in a place once where I cannot administer it myself.
Mm-hmm. So you're saying you do not eat, you choose for the most part to not eat at restaurants. Do you eat then beforehand? Do you bring your own food? What is your, how do you feed yourself?
Yeah, how do I feed myself? I always eat before, so it kind of just depends on the situation, but a lot of the times we have these influencer events that like I'm fully running behind the scenes. We do have an events person who helps set up all of the events, so I usually only am able to, thankfully, to a girl on my team get there like an hour or so before, where they might be there all day setting up these like beautiful floral arrangements and doing all the pre-planning and stuff like that. So I usually just eat immediately before, and then obviously always have safe snacks in my bag. For me, that's either like a little bag of pretzels or popcorn or like cheese sticks, because I can just throw it in and then quickly eat them. But I do choose not to eat at any like events or client dinners. I've obviously been in situations where I've been with people who are super, super pushy, like, oh, it'll be so fine. And I know you guys deal with this all the time. Oh, it'll be so fine. And they can accommodate you. But like at the end of the day, I just always view it as business. And I don't know. It's like not worth it for me to risk my life at a business dinner. I'd rather risk my life at a dinner with my boyfriend or my friends or my family. And if someone was to judge me for not eating because of like a medical condition at the end of the day, that's on them. And I probably wouldn't want to do business with them anyway.
I have what I've come across, especially in this industry, is, and like, I don't know if it's like only child or just like growing up with something that makes you like different, secretly different. But I don't have social anxiety. Like the few times in my life it has happened to me, I'm like, oh my God, is this what normal people feel like often?
You're like all the time.
Yes. I'm just used to swimming upstream. Like I am used to being the sparkly but black sheep. However, what I've noticed in this industry, because it's primarily female and like a lot of it is based on looks and public perception, is it makes people very uncomfortable that don't know me well and like don't understand the gravity of this medical condition. It makes some women very uncomfortable to be the only one eating. Like they have their own things going on. Like maybe it's a body image thing or an eating disorder thing, or you just like don't know what their history or background is. And it can come out like as a joke or like you said, being pushy. But have you ever encountered and like, how do you handle when you notice that what is right for you and you're protecting literally your life makes a client uncomfortable or like feel bad about themselves?
Yes, I like do 100% agree with you, but I think at this point in my life, like I think if I was like 19, if there's any viewers who are like I don't know, I think I'm just at this place in my life that like this is like my life and like I need to protect myself at the end of the day. And if they, you know, maybe feel a little bit uncomfortable, I won't feel uncomfortable by like eating food that I actually really don't want to eat, or I just don't trust the restaurant and put in an uncomfortable situation. I have a lot of pushback. It's a little bit difficult because sometimes if it's just me and somebody else, usually I'll just suggest we go get drinks or something like that. I do drink alcohol and I have no problems with any alcohol, knock on wood, but that has been something that I always am able to like kind of pivot. If someone was to suggest dinner, I usually just say drinks. If it's a group of people, usually I haven't had too much pushback. Sometimes though, I do get we can do something else. If it's like a client who wants to entertain me, like let's get blowouts or let's get our nails done. Lovely. I wish I could go and get my nails done and get a blowout and not also be worried about the shampoo or the creams or the lotions that they're putting in anything. So at the end of the day, I kind of usually just pivot into like, I don't eat because I have really severe food allergies, but like I do enjoy an alcohol beverage. So count on me to drink, count on me to enjoy my Diet Coke, my water, whatever it may be. I think also it's just having boundaries on the types of restaurants that you feel safe. Even just drinking, whether that's alcohol or a soda or water. I know personally, I really don't feel comfortable, unfortunately, walking into an Asian restaurant just because of the cuisine, the smell between the nuts and the soy. It is just super, super triggering to me. And I used to eat that food all the time. It's my boyfriend's favorite. I wish I could indulge in it. But unfortunately, if someone was to recommend that we go get drinks at a sushi restaurant, for example, I usually would pivot and say, can we actually go here? I have severe food allergies. I've only actually ever really been judged or excluded one time, which I've been in this industry now for 5 years. And a few weeks ago, I got invited to an industry dinner. And I always kind of, depending on how many people are in the group, I don't know if I should ever say, if it's a big group, I usually don't tell anybody prior that I have food allergies, and I just get there and kind of explain it. And it's usually a quick combo. And that's how I feel. I try not to make my personality. I'm sure you guys get it too. It's like, there's only so much you could talk about it before it's like exhausting or it becomes I don't know. Sometimes I feel like it's like I'm a thing at the museum and everyone's like fascinated by my food allergies. So usually I try to just say it. If it's a larger group, really quickly, I have a lot of food allergies. I'm not eating. And usually it's like, what are you allergic to? Oh, my sister, brother's boyfriend's neighbor is allergic to that too. Like, that must suck. That can never be me. I'm like, yeah. Anyways, like, can we talk business? Change the subject quickly. But if it's a smaller group, I usually tell them before, like, I actually won't be eating. And I did get invited to a dinner by a agency that was hosting just a lot of young females in New York City who do what I do, whether that was like a fashion brand or beauty brand. And it was only going to be a group of 5. And they asked me if I have any food allergies. I kind of like ignored the subject. I just didn't want to get into it. They followed up again, asking via email if I had food allergies. And I said kindly, I actually have a ton of food allergies. I choose because of my own boundaries to not eat at a restaurant, but I do drink. I'm looking forward to having a few drinks together and speaking with the other attendees. And they wrote me back saying that they'd actually, because I wasn't eating, they would like to accommodate someone else who could eat. That was the only time that's ever happened to me. I never even answered because I just was so shocked. Obviously, I think food allergies is like a huge point of my life, but I think it's not so common anymore. And I don't know, that was like the only weird occurrence that I've had. But I think at the end of the day, you really are just like protecting yourself and like advocating for yourself. So if I make someone else a little bit uncomfortable to the only person eating, if I've given them other options to only get drinks instead or pivot to something else, then I'd rather be safe and not put myself in an unfortunate reaction. on my Instagram stories, you wouldn't know that because I am right in there videoing the food and videoing what everyone else is enjoying. And I unfortunately do not miss out. Like, I don't feel like I'm missing out because I still am engaging in the conversation, having a drink or two, and being super, super present and trying not to let food become the conversation, which I'm sure you guys, it does. Like, you sometimes feel like an animal in a zoo when the food allergy topic starts coming up and people start talking about it.
Yeah, I basically shut it down in like the most polite and friendly way possible. And it's usually like, my rule is 2 sentences, and like the fastest way to reroute people is like get them talking about themselves. So I'm like, I'm like, oh, she was recently engaged. Like, let me just reroute to that. And like, we will be back on track to having a normal interaction. I totally relate to the drinks thing. I always think like, can you double wash the glass? Like, are there nuts behind the bar? Like, I'm still anxious about it, but I've never had trouble with it. And like, I'm a wine girl through and through. Less points of, I don't know, there's like no shared shaker and no anything. And I'm like, thank God I love wine because it is such a good reroute. Can you walk us through, like, for people listening, like if you knew Sally's Instagram, I will see you like in Mexico with like the biggest names in the game, or like you said, Coachella with like the most famous artists of the year in the background. And I'm like, holy cow, like how is she going someplace for 6 days? I think like there are 2 buckets of people when it comes to adult food allergies. And if you're a parent listening, like you think of your child's future, especially if a food allergy treatment program is not for your family for whatever reason. And there are really only 2 buckets out there. And I think that you and we fit into neither. And there's not a lot of us who fit into neither. There's bucket 1 where they have this laundry list of things. Maybe it's food allergies and ARFID or other things on top of it. And they're like, okay, like I'm not going to exit my home. I'm not going to go to different places. I'm going to say no to whatever. I'm going to have this like little remote job and this little life, and I'm going to keep it little because I have to keep it safe and I don't want to experience something bad again. And then bucket 2 is the people that are just like living la vida loca. Like, it's not whatever that bad.
Yeah.
They treat it like, I don't know, like it's a mosquito bite. And I'm like, you literally could, what?
My best friend has a lot of severe food allergies as well, and carries an EpiPen, and you know, she'll eat like a cookie made at like a bake sale, and I'm like, you are crazy. I wish I don't want to say that confident, because at the end of the day, it is obviously something that could be like a huge risk, but some people just have different anxiety levels. And for me, my food anxiety is the top of my anxiety level, and I think because I've had such severe reactions in the past, it's just not worth it.
But like we're in the bucket where, and like seeing your life is so inspiring. Yes. Where I'm like, I can't help that I am such a severe anxiety girly, and I can't help obviously my severe food allergies. So like I am not in the bucket that's going to stay home, and I'm not in the bucket that's going to eat the cookie at the bake sale. But like seeing your life, you don't say no to opportunities. Like your Vermont trip, road tripping I was like salivating. It was my favorite. I was like, forget Netflix. Like, what's Sally doing? Like, let's watch it again. Like the colors were so stunning. So how, as a severe anxiety and severe food allergy person, are you sort of like have a foot in both camps where you're not saying no to living your life big and bold and colorful and new experiences, but you're also not somehow throwing caution to the wind, eating at bake sales?
Yeah. I prepare so much, specifically for a trip. Thankfully with work, we do get a little bit of notice before we travel. I have been in a few situations where my boss is like, oh, can we go to California next week? And we're quickly booking or quickly going somewhere. But I do like to have it in my calendar so I know what to expect. I know what's coming. I do a lot of research, specifically with hotels. So I am either usually staying at a hotel that maybe has a small kitchenette, or at least bare minimum, they have a microwave, because you can never find microwaves at hotels anymore. So usually I'm calling ahead and requesting a microwave, just because that's how I preheat a lot of my like vegetables, that usually even just taking a step back. So in order to go on a trip, I pre-make all my food prior. I unfortunately am not a carry-on person. Regardless, I'm a 2-bag person, and the 1 bag will strictly be my safe snacks and food. Chicken is something that's really easy for me to make, so I'll just really bulk make a ton of chicken, freeze it, and then let it to thaw when it's, you know, with some ice packs, and hope for the best. If I get food poisoning, at least I'm not having an allergic reaction. So I really just hope for the best. And then when I'm at the location, whether that's like Cabo for work, LA, or even just somewhere on the East Coast where I'm currently based, or a lot of times I in the suburbs of New Jersey, right outside New York City. Sometimes I'm in New York City for a few days at a time and just running around. So again, always carrying a lunchbox with me, or making sure that I'm staying at a hotel with either like a kitchenette, but then obviously what you said, you worry about glassware and utensils and stuff like that. So bringing my own, that's why my second bag really comes in handy. And I'm a chronic overpacker because of that. But checking in that they have a microwave, that they have a mini fridge, and a mini fridge that could accommodate me. A lot of the hotels that we stay at, specifically with talent, are super, super nice, where they have all the mini bottles. And if you remove the mini bottle, you get charged $15, $16. So calling ahead, letting them know I have severe food allergies. Is that able to be taken out of my room? Are all of the nuts out on the counter able to be taken out of my room prior? Just so I kind of feel at like a safe environment, specifically when I'm traveling. I also thankfully have a really great team. I manage to influencer managers and a coordinator underneath me, and my boss is very, very accommodating. When we go to LA, which happens pretty frequently, me and her actually do not stay at the same hotel property, just because I prefer another hotel property that I know they are really great with having the microwave and the kitchenette, and I feel really comfortable staying there. I know I won't be charged an arm and a leg for taking out beverages or whatever snacks they have in the refrigerator. So I think being prepared is the biggest thing. And also just taking time for yourself when you're on these trips. I think a lot of times, specifically when I do travel, drinking is involved. I just went to Dallas with 6 members of my team, and we were drinking a lot. And I think when you have food allergies, and everyone else is eating and drinking at a restaurant and you are just drinking, you don't realize how much it's going to hit you. So making sure that I set up time in my calendar that when I am getting ready, that 30 minutes of that needs to be actually having a sit down meal in my hotel room. And it can't just be me eating when I'm doing my makeup or doing my hair, that I need to actually take time for myself and have that sit down meal, or I will not survive, blackout. Like, there's just a lot of things you don't think about, especially when you have long nights ahead of you when alcohol is involved with food allergies. And again, bringing snacks. And then 1, being prepared, but 2, also doing research. I always try to stay at a hotel property that I feel comfortable with. And thankfully with my job, I do have the luxury to do so. I know not everybody does, but also just doing research before and locating the nearest grocery store that I know they cater like safe. I'm also like a chronic label reader, as everyone is. There's only a few brands that I really feel safe with, calling lot numbers and stuff like that. It can get really gruesome and tiring. So making sure that they have vegetables that I know are producing like a nut-free facility or something like that, or they have a great organic selection that I feel really great that I could wash at the hotel room. So obviously doing that research a lot of ahead of time. I would say it's very time consuming. I know you guys know better than everyone else. It takes a lot of time and energy to do it, but that is what I feel safe with doing. So I'm able to still go on these trips and enjoy and be present. At the end of the day, it is business, and being present obviously leads to good relationships and better business situations. So I do try to be present as much as I can and try not to let the food anxiety get too much in my head, which is, again, why I choose not to eat out.
Yeah, that's so inspiring. I think I don't prepare enough, and there's a lot of eating while doing makeup, but like eating like a bag of Skinny Pop, I'm not sitting down. Same. I don't have the chicken. Like, that's really good to hear that you need to build it into your calendar, because I am so guilty of just being like, all right, this is a 4-day bachelorette trip. I'm going to be crawling from the Uber to my front door because I'm so emaciated. Like, I'm really good at being hungry if I know that there's an end date. And so I don't do a good job of preparing. Like, I'll have safe snacks always. It's like Mary Poppins bag story of an allergy girl's life.
100%.
But like, there's only so long that you can live off of like bananas and popcorn, you know? So, and I really let myself get run down, and Sarah will text me when I'm like away, and she's like, have you eaten today? Yeah. She's like truly part one of my dearest friends now, and part my actual allergy mom, where she's like, what have you eaten today? Yeah. And I'm like, not like a coffee. And she's like, Danielle, right? Like, you have 2 hours, like you need to eat something. Something as an allergy adult that I always get asked about, so I'm going to ask you, is dating. I know that you are dating a fabulous man who is the biggest support and helps you prep your food for all of these incredible opportunities that you have with work. But can you talk a little bit about just sort of like your dating experience and any sort of, as a single person, sometimes feel self-conscious, like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be a burden to this person. So just what is your approach with dating and food allergies?
I feel like the burden thing everyone deals with, specifically people who have food allergies. But I think at the end of the day, you have to remember everyone has something. So everyone's going to feel like a burden at some time. But I definitely is something that I discuss a lot in therapy. I feel like when I, started dating again and was trying to find like my next partner, it's awkward. It's really, really awkward. I feel like now, like as a woman, I live outside New York City. It's really easy to be like, oh, like we don't have to go to dinner. Like, let's just go get drinks first, because of safety and life. And it's quicker than actually having a full sit down meal. But then if the food allergy conversation doesn't come up on the first date, it 100% comes up on the second, because that's usually where they start asking if you can go for dinner and stuff like that. I just like to bring it up and get it out of the way really, really quickly. So usually within the first like few minutes of the date, when I was dating, I was bringing it up rather quickly. I have a lot of severe food allergies. You can't eat XYZ, and kiss me, or I can't eat at, Asian restaurants, or I can't eat Thai food, for example, because I have a severe nut allergy and soy allergies and stuff like that. So I try to like make it as not awkward as possible. And at the end of the day, always like pivot to like, I can still drink, whether that's like an alcoholic beverage or a soda or water. And I want to do fun stuff too. It doesn't always have to be surrounding food. I am very lucky that my current boyfriend, Jeff, is amazing, really takes my allergies seriously. His mom's a nurse, his sister's a nurse. I think that has a lot to do with it. He also went through allergy shots for environmental allergies and did have an anaphylactic reaction. So he gets it. When I feel a little bit uncomfortable, I'm having the tightness in my throat, whether that's anxiety induced or a new food that I introduced, kind of reaction, and it isn't a full anaphylactic episode. He gets it. He understands. He's been there. And then before I travel for work, he always helps me meal prep, go over that I have enough food. I think as a food allergy person, we discussed this before, but we're not the best at making sure we actually sit down to eat, whether that's him texting me or making sure that I actually am bringing enough food to get me through my trip, whether that's an overnight trip in New York City or a 2-week plus long trip. But just remember your person's out there, and you want someone who's going to obviously think of your safety, not first, but just as important as their own safety. And that's been really great with my current partner, Jeff, that he really prioritized me being healthy and happy at the end of the day.
I love that. Team Jeff. What is your rule of thumb with kissing? Like, is Jeff, if he's eating seafood, or does he just stay away from all of your allergens?
Jeff is not allowed to eat any nut products. Jeff is a picky eater, which has been a little bit helpful. I feel like at the end of the day, I know when I was looking for a boyfriend and I was back on the dating scene, and like, Danielle, I know you could relate to this. Like, oh, I'm just not going to date a foodie. I'm never going to date someone who wants to try every single restaurant or be at the new opening of the restaurant in my area. So, when Jeff was when we first started dating, and he was telling me, oh, like I'm kind of picky and stuff like that.
You're like,
he's not going to, yeah, I'm like, this is amazing. Like, you're not trying to like eat the most exotic, cuisine out there, which is amazing for me. So Jeff is not allowed to. I have different rules for different of my allergens just based on my own comfort levels. A lot of them are kind of like made up for my own head, as well as some that I have discussed with my allergist, but no nuts. I know the technical rule is like 4 hours teeth brush meal in between. I'm no nuts the day before or the day that we actually see each other. He's completely cut out nuts from his diet. There have been times where he's had like a peanut butter cup days before he's seen me and lets me know. I think also just having the opening communication, like letting me know when he ate Chinese food last, not that he eats it weekly, but knowing that is such a trigger food for me between the soy and the nuts, or when he had a peanut butter cup, letting me know that it was 3 days before. And like, yes, I know I can't have a reaction if we were to be intimate, but just letting me know has been super helpful for my own anxiety. And I do allow him to eat wheat and stuff like that, as that is one of my allergies. And I'm fine kissing after that because it has never brought on anything really severe for me, and I've never actually had a reaction. But the nuts and the soy are a big no-no. He kind of came into my life when I was really going through it allergy wise. We ended up going on like our third date like 2 days after I had my last anaphylactic reaction, which was about a year ago. So he really stuck by me when I was down bad between that was when I got diagnosed with ARFID, the avoidant food restrictive intake disorder, as well as just going through it of a new wheat allergy diagnosis. So thankfully, he kind of saw me at my worst, and I would just remind him it's going to get better with my food allergies, and it did. And I'm definitely more confident now. But when we first started dating, I was really down bad with it and really going through it. So I'm very thankful for him. But he knows that I have some made up rules, but he is always open to them and follows them, and I do appreciate it. But your man is out there.
Thanks.
You're never, for anybody who has food allergies, like it's like not like a burden. I think everyone has a little something, a little baggage. So not being able to eat peanut butter shouldn't be too detrimental. And if it is to someone's daily thing, that's onto them.
Totally.
Yeah.
Jeff, we love him. That's awesome. I love that. I love that he helps, especially the labor intensiveness of like prepping 2 weeks worth of food for your suitcase. Like that's a lot of manual labor. So I love that you have support.
Sally, thank you so much for being here. I feel like this has been helpful for, I know, all of our listeners, but also being Danielle's friend. She's been talking about you forever and like, we need to have her on the show. And now I see crystal clear why, because you just have so much confidence. And I know that's probably not an everyday thing for you, that you have setbacks and, mental health things that you have to get through. But the fact that you kind of work so hard to prepare so that you can still live this life that you're living, this fabulous existence, your job, everything. And then that you don't kind of wallow in the woe is me, I have allergies. Again, we all have our days. I don't have allergies myself, but with my kids, I'm like, why did this happen to me? But if you let that get in the way, then what is the point, So I just love that you're such a shining example of that. And I thank you very, very much for sharing your time.
Yeah. I'm going to be greedy and ask you one last question. If you could tell younger you who was still like really going through it and didn't have all of the experience in your tool belt that you have now, and dealing with things like anaphylaxis and having this super sparkly, fabulous career, what would you tell like 23-year-old Sally or any sort of food allergy person out there who is a little bit further behind on the path than you?
I think the biggest thing is like it gets easier. I think when you first get diagnosed, specifically for me, diagnosed so late in life, I thought this was like a death sentence. And I do obviously like have my days, the woe is me days, as Sarah was saying, or why me? Even after like an anaphylactic episode, I do have like the why did this happen to me? This is like the worst thing in the world. And it is the worst thing in the world. It's like your worst fear that you are faced with. But at the end of the day, like everything happens for a reason, and you just got to be prepared and be the biggest advocate for yourself. Like I strongly believe that the only person who could really protect you, even though regardless of, I have an amazing boyfriend, amazing family, amazing friends, an amazing team, which is able professionally, which is able to make me be so, I don't want to say successful, but be able to be so confident in a work environment at these scenarios. I think a lot of the thing that has to do is obviously have an amazing support system, but also just being the best advocate for yourself. At the end of the day, it's really your health in your own hands, and do what makes you feel comfortable. And take time for yourself mentally. It's a lot, mentally, physically. Having food allergies, it's something that people deal with not once a day, but 3 times a day, if not more, if you're snacking and stuff like that. And not everybody who does have a chronic illness does have to deal with something like that, where they're faced with their biggest fear multiple times a day. So just remembering that and giving yourself some grace as well.
If you're a food allergy adult listening who wants to get out there more, I highly encourage you to follow Sally and let her be your IRL Pinterest board, because truly, like, there was one week where I was like, oh my gosh, she's literally at the White House. And then it was like, wait, she's 2 weeks in Mexico. And then I'm like, wait, she's doing a road trip through Vermont. I'm like, I'm sorry. Now she's in Manhattan at all these like industry events with like the who's who of New York Fashion Week. Like, what? So where can people follow your fabulous life if they need that inspo, or if especially food allergy parents, like if you want a window into what your child's life can be?
You can follow me on Instagram at Sally Phelps. And if anyone wants to connect with me professionally and see what I'm up to with work and doing fun stuff on that side, you could follow me or friend me on LinkedIn at Sally Phelps as well. Thank you both so much for having me. This was so fun.
My mega inspo Pinterest girl, thank you so much for your time, and I'll see you on the gram.
Love. Thanks guys.
I'm obsessed with her.
I just followed her, but I hadn't before. And so now I'm excited to follow along with her life. She has anxiety, but she's making it happen still.
It's just so unique to meet somebody who also is so, their brain is just so controlled by their food allergy anxiety, and who also has like the most spectacular career. It is so inspiring. And I think every food allergy parent out there who's listening or watching, like, just know that your child can have whatever their dream career is, and have their food allergy, and have debilitating anxiety. Like, she is such a yes and versus the two buckets, the way I was talking before. It's just so encouraging to see her improve. And like she said at the end, like, it does get better. Like, she has worked her way back from terrible anaphylactic reactions in front of her client. Like, I can't even imagine. That's crazy.
That is. Well, until next week.
Thank you guys so much for joining us. As always, thank you to our sponsors. Thank you to Sally. And
talk soon.